Let's now talk about tileable textures, my friends. And in the first videos, I mentioned that one of the ways that you can get materials, for instance, for Marvelous, is by going to the Substance 3D Assets. Well, this is another little secret. It's not secret, it's very famous. Polyhaven, the site where you can get a lot of elements as well. So, for instance, if we go to this brown leather that you see right here, I really like this one. I think this is a great leather, for instance, for the cape of the character, because we can very easily change the color to a darker tone if we need to, and it has a little bit of roughness, it has a little bit of like detail, it just looks nice. So there's a bunch of, or a couple of ways to do it. If you're using Blender, you can download the Blender file and just import the material and everything's gonna be set up for you. Or you can download the maps themselves. Now, since I'm a little bit lazy and I'm gonna be using Blender, and I don't want to do the connection again, I'm just going to download the whole like Blender material right here, 4K. So I'm just going to hit download. What's going to happen here is we're going to be downloading again a material, and we only need to focus on this one right here. So when you download one of these guys, you can see that we have the textures and the scene itself. This is very, very important. So I'm going to copy these things right here, and I'm going to bring them into our like Doctor textures. I'm going to create a new folder called Tileable or Tileables. And here inside of Tileable textures, I'm going to drop the elements. Now, this is very important because these are the textures that the object is going to be like bringing into Blender. So we have a Blender scene with the brown leather 4K texture, and we have all of the textures there. If we jump back into Blender, let's go to the cape. Let's again assign a new material. Let's call this M Doctor Cape. As you can see, I've already divided all of the elements into like multiple objects so that it's easier to texture, but if you want to keep everything in a single one as we saw in the first video, that's perfectly fine. We're going to select everything here, assign, and then go back into object mode and delete unused slots. There we go. So I'm going to go to the shading setup again, and I'm going to say file, import, or sorry, append, and if we go to the like Doctor textures, we go to the tileables, we can append this one right here. It's going to open the collection of all of the elements that are inside this Blender scene. In this case, I want the material and brown brick. Oh yeah, I think it's called, okay, that's a weird name, but fine. So there we go. So now, instead of using this Mr. Doctor Cape, we can just grab the brown brick. And as you can see, it's going to assign the material to the whole element right there. And that looks quite nice, but it's not perfect. And it's not perfect due to two very, very important reasons. First thing, the UVs, okay? If we take a look at the layout, you're gonna see that the main borders of the elements is very big, and then this one is smaller, and then this little element is even smaller. So ideally, what we wanna do is we wanna jump into UV editing and check what the hell is going on. And if you remember, we've already talked about this. Sometimes the UVs will have different scales, but since everything in this particular asset is gonna be the same texture, we want to make sure that all of them are in the same scale. So I'm gonna grab all of the islands right here. In the UV tab, one of the things that we can do, or actually over here, UV, we can just try to pack. So I'm going to pack islands. And I'm going to just do shape method there, scale. Yeah, that should be pretty much right. And there we go. Still not right. Why not right? Because if we take a look at the material preview, you're going to see that again, these guys have a wrong scale. So one thing that we need to make sure here is I'm going to press Ctrl A, and I'm going to apply all transforms just to make sure that the scale is proper. Now, we cannot scale the circles bigger, right? Like this is pretty much the size for the circles that we're going to have. But we can definitely scale this ones a little bit smaller. So I'm going to go again here. We're going to go to UV. And there is this one, average island scale. There we go. That's a lot better. Now, here's a very fun part. This tileable textures can overlap. As long as you're not going to do the specific texture where you add like scratches and things like that, you can actually overlap all of these islands. I can actually leave them just like that. I know I'm breaking the rule of make sure everything is like in the one-to-one island, but again, we're using tileable textures, and tileable textures can break a couple of rules. This is one of them. You can actually leave them right here because as soon as it hits the border, it just starts again over here. So this one right here has information pretty much everywhere, and you can see it right there. So don't worry too much about tileable textures. They allow you to break some of the rules, but if you want to later on texture this inside of Substance or something, the high poly, I mean, then you can do it. In this case, just to show you the example, I'm going to leave it like this. Now, if we go to shading, the first thing that I want to change is the scale. And this is probably one of the most important things about textures, and especially tileable textures, that a lot of students get wrong. When you are texturing an object with a tileable texture, you need to look at real world objects and see how big the leather is. I don't have any sort of like leather thing. I'm going to use this cushion right here. but you can see that the size of the pattern is a specific size. And right now, this leather looks very, very big. So that's telling me that we need to fix that. We cannot go and keep it as simple. Give me 1 second here. So if we go here over to the tiling option, which is a very simple configuration, as you can see, it's just a texture coordinate knot with the UV going into the vector, and the scale is what we change. So if I say the scale to 4, 4, and 4, now this looks way, way closer to what I would expect a leather element to look. It might even be a little bit like big, so I'm probably gonna go like 6, 6, and 6. And look at that. That looks amazing because we get a lot of breakup all across the surface of the leather, and it gives us a sort of like realistic leather effect. Now I'm gonna go over to this side right here, and one of the things that I definitely want to do is I want to change the color. So I'm gonna press Shift A, and I'm gonna add an HSV, hue, saturation, and value right here, intercepting the color. And very simply, we can grab the value and just bring it down, 0.4, for instance, or 0.2. It's going to be a very, very like dark brown leather, which I really like. If we want to be black, we can just bring it to 0, and it's going to be a black leather. There's going to be no color information. But I always like to have a little bit of color information, so I'm going to do like a 0.1 or like a 0.15. We can even play a little bit with the saturation, for instance, to get like some a little bit crunchier effects. And yeah, that's it. Look at how nice and realistic that looks. Now, the stitches, these are brown stitches. They look quite nice, but I'm still going to change it. So I'm gonna go to the options right here, to the object, select all of this, add a new material, assign this new material, get out of the object, and then remove unused slots. Let's add this and call it M stitches. There we go. On the stitches, one of the things that we can do is just change the color. So I'm going to show like grayish, darkish color, and very important, I'm gonna this. I want it to be like quite flat, right? Like I don't want to add too much detail. They're just gonna be looking quite nice right there. I really like that. I really like the brown color there. I think it makes a good like combination with the mask. If we want to go like completely black, maybe 0.05, so we get like a really dark color, and it matches the mask a little bit better. So yeah, that's pretty much it. That's how we use tileable textures. But here's the question. Let's say the gloves. We probably want the gloves to be the exact same leather that we have on the cape, so they're kind of like matching, right? So if we go to the gloves and we, again, assign a new material, grab all of the objects, assign that one, and then just select the one that we already have, the break. One of the things that you might see is that the size of the scale of the glove might be either too big or too small. In this case, it's not that bad, but still I'm not completely like sold with UV. So let's go UVs. Let's grab all of the elements here. Sorry, give me 1 second here. Let's grab gloves, object mode, select all of the faces. There we go. And over here, instead of seeing the brown leather, we want to see the UVs. Where are they? It's not render results. Hey. Sorry. It's very weird. No, actually, let's grab this one right there. My bad. The UVs were here. Remember, we used the UDIM tiles, so the UDIM tile are all the way over here. So again, I'm just gonna go UV, and we are gonna say airbrush island scale, and then we're just gonna say UV, and let's pack islands, and hit OK. So you're gonna pack it. It should pack it all the way over here, and the size of the grain of the leather should be very, very close, which again is gonna give us a nice result right there. One of the things that I'm seeing here is that we probably needed a couple of top stitches or something on some of the elements to make them look a little bit nicer. I mean, they don't look horribly wrong, but yeah, that's pretty much it. Now, if the scale of this object was too big, like for whatever reason, it didn't match the scale of the cape, one of the things that we could do is grab all of the UVs right here. And this is mainly because we don't want to, what's the word? We don't want to have like multiple instances of the elements. So this is, again, one of the things that you can break the rules a little bit. And let's say you want the grain to be bigger, right? Like we want the grain of this leather to be bigger. Just scale everything down. Sorry, scale everything, down. And if we scale everything down, what's going to happen is the grain is going to be bigger. And if you want the grain to be smaller, you just scale everything up. And you find a nice like element or amount for the scale. Like that one right there looks quite nice, but I actually like the first one that we had. So that is how you use tileable textures. I'm going to be dropping a couple of tileable textures for you, my friends. I'm going to drop the linen that we use for the elements. I'm going to drop a leather one, but again, you can get them from Polyhaven as well. And now it's just a matter of assigning all of the remaining materials here for our character. I'm going to be doing something here interesting. And again, I'm going to do this off camera just to save a little bit of time on the videos and so that you don't have to watch me and see me all this time. But I'm going to be adding some extra material. So for instance, the buttons, it's just going to be like a dark plastic material. I might add like a velvet material to the hat. Velvet materials you can add very, very easily. For instance, on this cape right here, if we go to the material options, there's a new option on the surface material called the sheen. And if you turn on the sheen, what you can see here is you get this sort of like fuzzy effect for the whole thing. And you can change the roughness and stuff like that. So if you want to add this sort of like fuzzy effect, especially on the cloth, this one's really good. You can use the sheen to do that. You can kind of like this sort of like velvety look to the whole thing. I'm not going to add it to the, to the leather because I feel like the leather looks quite nice. But for instance, the stitches could be a good object to add a little bit of sheen. So if I add a little bit of sheen right there, now the stitches are going to be like just getting that extra little glow every now and then. So yeah, that's it, my friends. I'm going to stop the video right here. I'm going to continue setting up materials, tileable materials for the cloth, the trims, the belts. I'm going to add the materials to the boots. And in the next video, we're going to start talking about lights and presentation. So hang on tight. I'll see you back on the next one.